All right, fellow investors, family, friends, associates. So we went into COVID, and a lot of my investors, our investors, you guys, whether you're a business partner that came in with me to do some development work, like my cousin, John Pennington, whom I owe like $50,000 to because he didn't get paid out during the COVID interlude there with Brooktree. So now that $50,000 has grown, of course. To some of my favorite investors I want to name off, not only John Pennington, of course, but to Jason Thompson, Austin Schallhammer, and his group brought in capital and were incredibly talented, capable, and fun-loving people that I absolutely loved and enjoyed working with. And we went through a lot of trials and tribulations, so I want to thank you guys for being there with me, for me, and for our investments. And during COVID, of course, we were booted off projects. We were literally forced off projects by police and sheriffs. And we all know now what that was. And then the predatory lenders, people like Victor Mitchell of Lead Funding, people like Mike of Hard Money Mike in Denver, who's a total crook. Rolla Boys, that's the name of one of his companies. Are you kidding me, Mike? You're a white guy. Come on, Rolla Boys. You think you're a black guy in Detroit? Come on, dude. Wake up. But it is a total insight into who you think you want to be and you want to be like a gangster black kid. You're just the opposite of that, dude. You're a cracker old dude. Come on, man. Really. And trying to rip off good, hardworking people like myself and our crews and our tradesmen, no good, bro. No good at all. Matt from New Zealand, who Mike, MTV, or Hard Money Mike and Rolla Boys ripped off for the moment. We're getting you cleared. You have $150,000 that he stole and plus the property, but we're getting it all back and then some. And that property that you purchased with me for literally $300,000, and then we put about $500,000 in sweat equity into it, is now worth over $3 million. So that'll give you an example where you're at there. I was back in 2018, 2019. And Mike tried to steal, like I said, but he got us caught up in the what we're Rolla Boys process. To give you a little insight into what Mike does, Hard Money Mike, I can't say that with a straight face. He's the least hard person I know. But anyway, Hard Money Mike, based out of Littleton, Denver area, Colorado, thinks he's a hard money lender. He's really just a predatory white softy, a cracker. But Cracker Mike would supposedly loan money from Hard Money Mike, a private fund, right? And then he would swoop in and put a second on it with Rolla Boys. You can't make this shit up. Rolla, R-O-L-L-A, Boys, B-O-Y-Z. This guy's like 20 years older than I am. He's acting like a 20-year-old street punk. Unbelievable. Rolla Boys, LLC, then would put a second lien on the property, and then he would foreclose with Rolla Boys, and the first lien, of course, would not roll over. So totally illegal, thinking he was getting away with murder. No, Mike, you're going away for murder, not getting away with murder. Sorry, buddy. Anyway, so some of my favorite people, like Austin Schallhammer. There's a lot of great people out there. Jason Thompson. I just want to say Diane Anderson. I want to say Edmiston, who was an engineer out of Lone Tree. Edmiston got caught up in the mix with about 50 grand, and I want to say I'm sorry for that. He's going to get all his money back too. He already got his money back, but he's going to get some of the profits that he missed during COVID. And I know it's 4 or 5 years down the road, but you know what? It's always better late than never. And the bottom line is it only accrues with us and our companies. So that's the benefit. It's all coming back. And then, of course, there was a doctor in Denver that came through Austin for about $150,000. That's going to get paid. a gentleman out of Seattle area, not Rex Werman, who's my favorite investor of all time, brought to me by Bonnie. And Bonnie, congratulations, she got married. Great gal from the Pacific Northwest. She has $5,000 invested with us. And then Big Beard Real Estate. His name's Tom. Tom, I want to tell you, Diane Anderson and a lot of people, Janine and Loff in Steamboat Springs, who invested with me. A lot of people backed and supported some of these great projects we had all over the state, and some cracked when I was using bankruptcy to attempt to hold on to. You have to understand. First of all, these predatory lenders came in, so we'd put up a lot of the money. For example, on Terrace, I put up about $1 million in cash for a $1.34 million purchase, and then I was paying $20,000 a month for a loan that didn't even loan on anything. I was begging for money for 4 months and he wouldn't give me a nickel. Victor Mitchell, he was asking for more money for his governor's campaign and for materials. He had this scam going with a company that he was doing bathrooms. I mean, it was like, you can't make this stuff up. It's so ridiculous and it's so corrupt that I couldn't imagine that these people were actually doing what they were doing, but they were doing it. And we all know that I did work 7 days a week, 14 to 16 hours a day, gave up everything, put all my own money in. My family put all their money in. My friends put all their money in. Jason himself put in over $1 million. I put in over $1 million. My mother put millions in, all into a property in which we only spent $3 million to build it. And I was supposed to come out with, my estimate was a $4.5 million property. Well, guess what? It wasn't $4.5 million. It was $8 million. It sold for $7.995 million, as a matter of fact. And now it's worth over $10 million. So, my estimates were on. I was conservative, as I always am. All the properties in Grand Junction, I was conservative. All those sold for more than they were anticipated. All the properties in Breckenridge, which included everything from commercial to residential, Frisco to Breckenridge to Blue River, all sold for more. To give you an example, the Impossible log 7,200 square foot log ski lodge, 7,200 square feet, mind you, with a 2-car garage, which nowadays you can't even build for less than $1,000 a square foot. So that's a $7 million property. It slept 20 people. It sleeps 20 people. It's still there. Nobody else could figure out how to fix, repair it, whatever. It was a write-off. I bought it for $300,000, myself and my student, little Sue. Sue Parker and myself put $150,000 into it, and Christine Pearson started renting it for upwards of $20,000 a month. $20,000 a month for a $500,000 investment. You tell me that's not amazing. That almost earns half of its value a year. That's insane. It's now worth, I think, between $3 and $4 million on the assessor records. But they literally tried to have me arrested for theft of boulders from the city, which is ridiculous, but they're in cahoots with the predatory lender, which was Victor Mitchell again, who came and stole it at gunpoint, literally broke in at gunpoint, just like he did properties in Glenwood Springs at gunpoint. At gunpoint, mind you. There are people in these properties living, paying rent, and he is foreclosing illegally, calling up the sheriff to serve papers to try to take over these properties illegally. And the sheriff is the one who calls me and says, Todd, we have a problem here. This guy's out of his mind. He's having people show up with guns, a guy named Al Robertson, who we have on camera, with guns, with a gun on his holster in his hand, as he is confronting the front door on 2 different properties in 2 different places or 2 different cities. You can't make this up, man. And you can hear him talking on camera about me. Like, yeah, this guy does great work, and yeah, you just see this, and be careful there. You get your gun out, and good thing we got it. We're armed. I mean, what are you talking about? If I was there, I'd kill you with a hammer for literally trespassing. But what he did is he killed a pet of the person that was living there and paying rent, paying the mortgage, paying the insurance, paying the taxes, paying the HOA, doing the yard work, keeping the place pristine and beautiful. A place that they had less than $600,000 invested in, mind you, that was valued to over $1 million. 600,000 over $1 million. 600,000 over $1 million. Huh? Now it's over $3 million. And they were concerned that they didn't have their secure investment, when really they stole my money out of my trust to fund it, and then charged me outrageous sums of money, $10,000 a month for a $480,000 loan. $10,000, man. Where have you ever seen a $10,000 a month payment on a $400,000 mortgage, deed of trust, whatever? Where? Anywhere. On a literally 5,200 square foot home with 8 bedrooms and 7 bathrooms. 3-car garage on a golf course. What? And you wonder why that guy didn't make the governorship? He's even more corrupt than the governorship can take. Give me a break. Anyway, that is my rant. But the bottom line is that's how corrupt it all was. And they literally sucked so much money out of our accounts that I ended up going bottom up and belly up and homeless literally in 2018. I have been homeless since, working 7 days a week, 14 to 16 hours a day, haven't stopped. I've missed 2 days in the last 10 years of work. And the reason why was either I was in surgery or I should have been in surgery. I was in the ER and dying. Literally. Quite literally. And during that time, I lost multiple friends. I saved 2 friends' lives and lost 3 friends' lives. Family members, lost multiple. Family members as friends and family, pretty much all of them during this little discourse of COVID. But the deal is the predatory lenders used COVID to get me off the properties. Once I was off the properties, they could then use the bizarro fiction world that they live in, contract law, to foreclose on me illegally, in which I sued literally the sheriff's department. The sheriff held them all to account because it's totally illegal to do that. It's literally called piracy. And I've just made my first claim, and my first claim is won. Now, what that means for my investors, you guys, and all those great people who supported me, is that our investments are now coming back. The returns are coming back. And just to give you an example of the returns you're expecting, for instance, if you were an investor on Terrace, the first win we've had, right? You bought in, if you put in, $5,000 like Bonnie, you put in $5,000, you were expecting 4.5 million, you're expecting basically 1,000 to 1 return, right? 1,000. So with a 1,000 return, your investment dollar or whatnot was about 1%. 1%, so $1 for every 100, or for $5,000, you're expecting $50 return on your money. Well, I promised to, of course, give you a base percentage of, I think it was like 12 or 15%, depending on your note. I guaranteed that you would receive 12 to 15% per year return on your investment with us, or you could take the actual equity. So if you invested $5,000 and we had, $2.5 million in on the whole thing, that means your investment would be 1 in 500. So for every dollar for every dollar that was invested, or every $500 that was needing to be invested, you were $1 of that, or you were 1/10 of 1%, 2/10 of 1% of the ownership, if that makes sense. So for every dollar that goes into the 2.5 million, if you take 100% of 2.5 million, basically it's, for every $2,500, every $25,000 is 1%, because it's 125,000s for 100% of ownership, right? So 1% is 25,000. That means 2,500 would be 1/10 of 1%. Does that make sense? So 1/10 of 1% would only give you so much money. So sometimes that's not attractive to people. They don't want the ownership. They want a guaranteed return. So I would guarantee 12 to 15% return per annum on their investment. So her $5,000 would either be worth, basically, it was worth 2.5 million went in, it's worth 4x. That means her number would now be worth $10,000, or I'm sorry, yeah, 2,500. Her 5,000 would now be worth $20,000, or she could take the 5 or 6 years at the 10 to 12 to 15%, whatever she was offered on her note. Now, on a note, it's better to take the value, right? Because she would, at 10%, 7 years or 5 years, she wouldn't even get double, but yet she's getting 4x on the valuation. So you can take it either way, is what I'm saying. You could take your value, the equity gained overall, or you could take your percentage of, your guaranteed percentage of return annually, compounding. So that's what I offer. That's what I'm still offering. Everybody that invested with me is still secure, even though everything went sideways, up, down, and left. Now it's coming back through these court cases, and I am securing everyone's investment that invested with me into the REIT, which is a real estate investment trust, which is now now is the holding company for these investments. So as I win the cases, for instance, on Terrace, this case was just won on July 2nd, or actually July 2nd is when I filed it. It was won on June 25th. It was actually won on June 23rd, I believe. But 25th is when I picked up the paperwork. 27th is when I got the clerk and recorder. And July 2nd is when I filed it with the trustee and the recorder for Pitkin County, which is reception number for the judgment is 710301. If you want to check that out. So the investment that we anticipated to be about a $3 million all in, or a 2.5 to 3 million all in, ended up being worth 10.5 million. The timeline was 2017 January to today's date, which is in 2025. So it's been 8 years, almost 6.5 years, 7.5 years. Some of your investments were in the middle, somewhere in the 6-year range, 7-year range, whatever, because it went from being a remodel to a scrape new construction. I designed and built it from the ground up. Literally built it 3 times. First remodel, working with a drunk Todd Curley, who's an idiot, and he had a heroin addict brother, junkie friend, and got in a fight with the plumber, got in a fight with Todd Curley, he was a monster, and got in a fight with his heroin addict brother, which was actually kind of hilarious. So between all of those issues, I had to build it 3 times. But even though I built it 3 times, I still built it for less than $3 million. So there's a good return on that. We're keeping that, obviously. I'm keeping all these properties. They will be in the trust. If you want to have your investment ongoing, you can stay invested in the real estate investment trust and take your monthly dividend, which is your earnings from your investment, your percentage of ownership. So for instance, Bonnie, who had $5,000 in on that, would currently have a $20,000 investment on a $10 million property, which is basically 5 to 100, 50 to a million. So she's 1/500th still, right? 1/500th. 1/500th, which is 0.2%, and it makes $30,000 a month. So 0.2 of $30,000 is, see, 3,000 is 10%, 300 is 1%. So she'd make about divide by 5, $60 a month. $60 a month ongoing for a $5,000 investment. And she can always sell that note, which is $20,000 invested in the property value, or she can take the $60 a month payment until the end of time, or that percentage of the payment, which is like we were saying, her percentage of ownership, and she could take that all day long, forever. So $60 a month, that's $720 a year. That's not bad on a $5,000 investment. Pardon me. That's 14%. 14% per year ongoing for the rest of her life. But it's only going to go up, right? Rents are going to go down. So that's where that's at. So that is out there. I'm sorry for the long video, but I wanted to, set aside some time to talk to everyone. And I'm sorry this isn't a real clean and real concise presentation. It should be. But you have to understand, I have been in the ditch just working my ass off for the last literally 8 years. And I've been homeless. I've gone through more attorneys than I can remember. And 2 of them actually got disbarred. One of them is going to prison for sure. And another guy, I think, got killed because he is so freaking corrupt. I've dealt with people like Rex, who in Denver literally was killing migrants. You would literally have them dig their last hole. He would say that too. They'd dig one last hole in back of the barn. I'm not bullshitting you here. This is real. This was in the paper. I met with him. I talked to him about this shit. This happened. And he killed 26 migrant workers. He stole from all sorts of wonderful, probably Colorado people, senior citizens mainly, would go in and say he was going to refi or help them out with their mortgage or get him some money off their deed of trust or whatnot, and then he would just steal their property and sell it. I mean, this guy was a monster. You wouldn't believe some of the people we've ran into over the course of the last 10 years, from 2008 to now, to today. And the reason for the entire last collapse, you probably don't know what it is still. I know exactly what it was. It was complete and total absolute corruption of a system in which I will not go into any more detail here because it'll probably get me killed. But the bottom line is there are a lot of bad, corrupt people out there. And every single lender that I dealt with, I have now proven is a crook. And I'm going to name them off now. First Western Bank, based out of Aspen, Colorado, but also has locations all over Colorado. They are the ones who backed Victor Mitchell of Lead Funding. Victor Mitchell of Lead Funding and Lead Funding 2 Limited Liability Company has multiple liens against it, including our own, for $3.9 million currently, and more to come. We dealt with Corinne Corden out of Capella Mortgage out of Las Vegas, Nevada. A complete and total crook. She had an extortion ring with this company called New Millennia, which literally is under investigation, and so is she, from after I talked to the police about what was going on and tried to get her for trespassing right before COVID to get her off my property. They told me some stories about her and her son and some other things. I'm not going to disclose exactly what that conversation was, but here it is from me and my experience. The day that I was supposed to close, all of a sudden, New Millennia, I never heard of them before, calls me up and says I owe him $41,000 for sourcing the note, the loan with Capella Mortgage. It's like, I don't know what you're talking about. I literally called Capella on my own. I used to have a mortgage brokerage company. I am a mortgage broker, and I did not call you. I do not know who you are. What are you talking about? They put it on the title and said they wouldn't close without being paid the $41,000. Since I was in such a hurry, I paid the $41,000 and thought I'd get to it later, which I did. But the bottom line is, it was her son or her, and they have this little company they use in the background to whip out these quick liens because they know people, when they're desperate, they can just grab money right off the table. A lot of these predatory lenders that way. Victor Mitchell's the same way. You'll get you to the closing table, and they'll say, well, Todd, you have a $1.34 million purchase here. I'm going to put up $600,000 of it. You're going to put up $600,000, and then we're going to go ahead. You have your $150,000 down payment. We're good. And then last minute, what he'll do is he'll say, I need 6 months at $20,000 for the mortgage to pay the monthly payments. And he doesn't tell you this, but he double insures it. So you're paying for your own insurance to cover, to do what's called a wrap, so that if you can't make your mortgage payment, it makes it for you. Well, you made that payment. You paid those people twice the value. He has you pay for that, doesn't disclose it, hides it, and then gets twice the payment. So when he forecloses illegally on your property for, in this case, 2.5 million or whatever, he gets 2.5 million times two, $5 million. Then he subjugates that to a $3.9 million payout to the next person who's coming in. So he makes 3.9 there. I mean, these guys stack it just so freaking crooked, it's mind-boggling. And how they get away with it is you demand information. You say, hey, FOIA request, Freedom of Information Act, right here. Where's my accounting? You have to tell me. They ignore you. Or they throw a bunch of paper at you. Usually both. They ignore you. Attorneys throw paper at you, and you get screwed regardless, right? Until you figure out what I figured out. Now, I was so angry I couldn't see straight, and to be honest with you, I think I had a couple heart attacks in there. Thank God I'm an extreme skier and kayaker and base jumper, or I would have probably bit it, because that stuff barely kept me from focusing in on this doomsday. You get so frustrated, you're mad, you just start brooding on these people and how they're burning you and just ripping you off and sucking your blood, and their vampirism, and how they're beating up on your mom, and they're beating up on your family and your friends, and you're turning everybody against you because now everybody thinks you're ripping them off. And by the way, I mean, everybody does. Everybody thinks you're ripping them off. Everybody's like, Todd, what's going on here? I mean, how could you? Fuck, you're a genius, man. I mean, how hard can it be? You buy a property for $1 million. You said it was going to be worth $5 million. It's worth $8 million. You only put $2 million into it. How do you screw that up? You can't. You can't screw that up. I can't screw that. Even I can't screw that up. But the bottom line is, even doing dozens of those properties, these people consume every penny. I'll give you another example. I have spent no BS here. I have paid the IRS over to this day, over $30 million, and they're still asking for more money. Wrap your head around that. I don't even owe the IRS a nickel, yet they have siphoned set over $30 million in payments, all documented, all checks and balances. I've gone to the IRS, I don't know how many times, more times than I can count, literally on both hands and both feet. I've recorded conversations, I've done it all, and now I'm suing the IRS for correctness, because it's that out of control. They're asking for another $3 million payment. I literally have been living in a truck, like I said, for 8 years. A truck when I've had a truck. Usually I'm lucky enough to have, most of the time I didn't have a truck. I just got lucky enough last couple of years to have a truck again. And it's always breaking down. I'm always fixing it. I'm a mechanic literally 2 to 3 hours a day, every day of my life for the last 5 years. But the bottom line is this. If the corruption is that bad and that rampant, how do you survive it? Well, I didn't. I had to dig deep. I had to learn law. And by the way, the law is not enough. It wasn't for me. Lawyers, including one of my best friends, Neil Janeja, who I made a bunch of money trading because I'm a day trader. And I was making a bunch of money day trading too. And I can't make this up. Day trading with IMG, one of the bigger accounts out there. They're based out of London. They are a huge brokerage. They literally took my account and took it over to Tasty Freeze Company without my consent, without any notification, and just transferred the entire balance of my brokerage and my trade account over to a Tasty Freeze account, which is another account based out of the Caribbean, just out of the blue. No notification, just happened literally overnight one night, and then all my money disappeared. Not that much was left, but I mean, I had tens of thousands, and then that just disappeared. I mean, you can't, basically, bottom line is this. They siphoned everything they could. They stole every nickel. I have proof that all these predatory lenders literally took it all. I mean, I have a lot of good accounting of my own. So even though I asked for a lot of it, and a lot of it's, in the dark, I know where it went. I tracked it. I kept my books really good. That's the one thing I did do, is I kept my books and my computers in storage, in places they couldn't find it. Try to keep it on land, in my trailer, and sealed where nobody knew about it. And I got to tell you, that was my saving grace, because I know where the money is, and you got to follow the money. And the money tells the story, and the story is this, my friends. If you make money, if you're an earner, and if you're kind of a solo act like I am, even though I have a lot of people who work for me and had a lot of friends and family, and the bottom line is once they consolidate and basically seclude you or get you kind of cornered, get you kind of out there on your own, and know that you're kind of out there on your own and not everybody's standing with you. By the way, as soon as people started dropping off, like Neil Janeja, my attorney, as soon as those guys, because I ran out of money, right? So as soon as the $25,000, I couldn't make that $25,000 payment. He's like, I can't write any letters for you. I need at least another $5,000 or $10,000 to write a letter. And I was like, what are you talking about? I've been throwing money at you for years. You used to beg to work for me and go date my girlfriend and hang out with her. And as I dated this girl, Angie, who loved the heck out of me, and I loved the heck out of her, and he was in love with her. And so I helped him make a bunch of money on stocks and the stock market. And, I literally gave him some guaranteed stock. I said, hey, just for an instance, what was it that went IPO? And it was a day trade account, real popular day trade account. God, I can't think of it right now, but anyways, it was going IPO. This was right when it was going off, and it was one of the bigger ones. It was like 4 or 5 years ago, and I was like, I guarantee you invest $1,000, you're going to turn into 10 same day. It's going to pop on IPO. Sure enough, it did. Of course, I knew what I was talking about. I followed all that stuff. I love day trading until they just absolutely, totally, and completely sucked all my accounts dry. I literally couldn't trade. I'd trade other people's accounts. And when I was trading other people's accounts under their consent, which you can do if you as a consultant or whatever. But the bottom line, because they're family accounts, right? But the bottom line is they'd find out that I was trading them, and then they'd absolutely siphon off every nickel there too. I couldn't win. I literally couldn't win. So long story short, he gets done. He makes all his money that he can off me, and he just doesn't see any more, bright and shiny future because now you can see I'm circling the toilet, man. I'm getting these lawsuits are stacking up. I'm, living out of a car. I'm getting hammered. I'm sharing it with him because he's my friend. I'm like, hey, man, I'm, really getting kind of worked here. I'm getting damaged. They're putting me in jail. They're jailing me on false charges, and and by the way, I'll tell you that story someday. That'll blow your mind. I mean, that goes back decades, but they will literally charge you with like bribery, which is how do I bribe someone when I don't have any money? How do you do it? You can't do it, man. It's incredible what they came up with. Bribery, trespassing for serving papers. This is on numerous accounts in numerous counties, different areas, different people. You're serving someone that owes you money. How is that trespassing? It's not. It's called service. It's called serving. It's just mind-boggling what they came up with. And it comes down to this. I wanted to explain it in such a way that was down to earth. It wasn't prepped. I didn't write any of this down. I'm just telling you right now, exactly from the heart, where I've been, how hard it's been. And I'm telling you from the heart that at the beginning of this, I told every investor that's with me, I told every tradesman, I told everybody who's ever worked for me. Like I was telling Jason Day, he said, hey, Todd, you've always been straight with me, man. And I'm being straight with you again. I told you in the beginning, no matter what, except for Dan and Denise and Tom, who turned on me really, really hard. I had 2 and 3 investors that literally turned on me to the point of like threatening and being really, really hostile, negative, dark energy. When I was saying to Amanda, you hold in there. All you have to do is understand, here's where we're at. I had them sit with me at the conferences with these predatory lenders. They knew who these people were. These people said, listen, do you want to stay in? Or, Todd's going to keep going no matter what. And I'd be like, absolutely. I never stop, right? And they would say, nope, we're out. We don't want to have anything to do with Mr. Profit. We don't want to have anything to do with his investments. We're writing it off. We don't want our money back. We don't want to try to get our money back. We don't want to be on the hook for anything more. We're done. We're not supporting Todd emotionally, spiritually, physically, or financially. And the day that they said that is the day that my loyalty is no longer in your court. But me being me, I will give you what was originally promised, no matter what, because that's who I am. Now, though you turned on me, and I told you, if you turn on me and you literally make it harder for me, which you did, you made it incredibly harder for me. You actually tried to have me arrested. You tried to have me penalized. You tried to have me, my accounts seized, my companies folded. You tried to fold me up even farther than the predatory lenders, which sucked all the wind out of the sails. And then for me to build that back from nothing with you stomping on my head, kicking me in the face, and throwing dirt in my eyes does not help anybody. And that's what I told you on the phone when you'd be screaming and yelling at the judge to do more shit to me. When you'd be screaming and yelling at the judge to take away, garnishing my accounts. There's no accounts to garnish. When you'd be telling the IRS and selling them to somehow I'm not paying them enough and I need to pay you too, or I don't know what you guys came up with. That I needed to sell my land, which I did. I sold everything I had, by the way. Everything. I had nothing. I still have nothing. I have a truck now that I get through a company I work for because I work literally 100 hours a week. So they gave me a truck and all I have to do is keep it going. It's a whole nother effort right there. But you have to be basically a professional mechanic, and I am now. That's fine. But here's the deal. I told you to stick by me. When the tough gets, when the rough gets rough, the tough stick by one another. Man, we're family, we're friends, when the tough gets going, man, you don't leave people out on a limb. You don't kick them in the face. You don't kick people when they're down. You help them when they're down. You put your hand out. You give what you can when you can. I gave it everything I've got. I leave it out on the field every day, 100%. That is one thing I can honestly say about me, is I know that for a fact. I have never not given it my absolute all, except for 2 days that I remember in the last 10 years. And like I said, one of them I was in surgery, and one of them I was literally at death's door. And I lost a friend that day, and I tried to save her life, and I brought her back, and she wasn't happy about it. And I literally gave her CPR, chest compressions for about 30 minutes while I was waiting for the paramedics to get there and take over. But here's the thing. And the other person that I saved, Beth, who was a friend of mine, on her birthday, I ran her kayak out on a Class 5 water, which is Gore Canyon. I ran her boat out, and she walked out because she wasn't ready to do a section in there that day after her birthday because she wasn't able to roll. And I ran back in at dusk, which is at nightfall. And at night, if anybody who knows this canyon, it's killed 3 of my friends, and it killed her too. But it almost killed me that day because I hadn't eaten all day. It was dusk. I had no backup, and I had to paddle all of Gore Canyon alone at dusk going into nightfall on an empty stomach after having run 4 miles with heavy equipment and paddling all day already, but running her boat out and tried to take her to safety. And then once I get her all done, once I got out at night and 20 people are there at the takeout, and I run into Brian Banks, good friend of mine, him and I were the ones who talked about, me running Beth out because it seemed unsafe. She'd probably get hurt. And I told him, I said, listen, I ran her out, and then I ran back in. I was getting into my boat, and there she was. She somehow got back in her boat, paddled the 2 miles as I ran back to my boat and went through Gore Canyon. I saw her flip, and that was it. I didn't see her again. Tried to paddle out as quickly as I could to get to search and rescue, which I did, but they wouldn't go in until morning because it's too dangerous. And then they found her body in the early hours of the morning when they went in at first light. And I literally broke down in tears, and I haven't paddled since. That was the last time I ever kayaked. That's been like 3-4 years now. So what I can say is this. It's been a hard time. And when times are hard or times get tough, people either come together or they show their colors. And the people who showed their colors to me are Tom, and like I said, the Dan and Denise Durfee. And you three people made my life a living hell. And of course, all the predatory lenders, you guys are all getting what you have coming. I have to say, there's no stopping that train. The DOJ, Department of Justice, the Attorney General, both for Colorado and the federal, Washington D.C., as well as the Financial Crimes Unit, the Secret Service. I mean, I contacted 24 different major agencies that are involved in these kind of shenanigans, and it's 60 plus years in prison and 30 plus million in fines. That's just their stuff, not my stuff. So the predatory lenders, you're going where you're going. You guys are evil, and you are going exactly to the place you need to go. That's not my business, but my business is my investors and the people that I work with, and the associations and associates that I've met and coordinated with, like Austin Schallhammer and the people he brought to me, and Mike Mangum, and the people when I was working with the real estate investment clubs, and Sue Parker and all, her friends and stuff. And Sue, by the way, great job. I've never seen someone pick up something so fast. She was stripping at night, literally stripping at a strip club, and then working from 5 a.m. till about 2 in the afternoon on her houses. She did a house in her first flip. She purchased for, I think it was like 112 grand, flipped it, made 62 grand in 30 days. 60 days, sorry. 60 days. It was a 30-day flip, but we had to do closings on either side. She did all that with some stripper money. She had about, I think, 10 or 12,000 she'd put aside. She paid me 2 grand to coach her, and then I took, I think, 10 or 12,000 of the equity for flipping it for her, and then she made 62 grand. She flipped that into the next property in Breckenridge, which we bought for 300,000, ended up being valued at over 3 million. So it's incredible what you can accomplish, especially when you stick by one another. But that's going to be it for this disclosure. But this is the first case. 450 Terrace is in the hopper. Again, I bought it for 1.34 million. I built it for less than 2. All in about 3 million. Value 10.5 million. Rents for about 50,000 a month. And it is now in the real estate investment trust that is owned by all of us, and you are an investor in it. You have that money, which will be dispersed. I will be in contact with you, or someone will, to start allocating that dividend, or to allocate and buy you out, depending on what you want to do. So look for that in the upcoming next 30 to 60 days. That offer will be coming in the mail, email, or someone will be contacting you, if not myself. And I want to thank you for sticking by me. I want to thank you for your loyalty. And the most important thing is, I want to thank you for your time and your money and your investment, because it is an incredible thing when you're down in the dumps and you have people that believe in you. You can keep going. Hope is a powerful, powerful agent. But when you're down in the dumps and you don't have hope, you end up not making it. And I've seen that happen too. So thank you to all those that supported me, and I support you. You always have my loyalty. Thank you.